Welcome to the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. The Guitar Shop is officially open. If you're new to this guitar shop or any other guitar shop, walk in, make sure that your hands are clean, and before entering, and enter with a smile for the staff. Guitar shops are the guitar player's mecca where you can try out gear and learn about new gear. I'm Daniel B. I'm a G4V Cav Arts virtual chapter guitar instructor and your host of this, the 26th episode of Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. And the guitar shop would not be complete without the very fine people that I have in the upper corners of this screen. Let me see. We have, what was his name again? Oh, yeah. So the G4V Guitar Shop Guitar Gurus. We have John DeMarco. John, having baked in the Arizona sun, is now back in Minnesota and finding that going from dry heat to humid heat found him still baking, but yet staying more moist.
So true. It is so true.
And also in the secret square today, we have Mr. Michael O'Connell.
Indeed, I'm stuck in this little square, Daniel. When are you going to let me out?
Michael is our very own piece of music history, truly a living museum piece and a veritable music artifact. So Michael will be going to be starting us off here. First, let me do this little thing here. We have to have a disclaimer. So please bear in mind that our discussions are based on our experienced opinions, skills, and knowledge. Every effort is taken to verify any information we put forth. Any references to brands is for demonstration purposes only. We at G4V Guitar Shop have no affiliations with any of the brands we mention or use. So, Mr. Michael, would you please entertain us with
I could try.
your vested interest into this guitar shop?
Oh, why me? So what are we doing? We're talking about hollow body today, right, guys? We can talk about other things. Yep. And so I'm not going to give you the whole history of hollow body, but basically it's a violin, upsize. People thought violins sound very beautiful, so why don't we make something? Now they have flat top, but what I have is a Taylor T5Z, which has a convex top on a bow top, violin top on it. And what these guitars do is you have straight acoustic, which has a wonderful resonance from the wood tones and the woods that are in the guitar, and then you have hard body electrics, which have the wood contributes somewhat, but it's really mostly about the pickups and the strings and such. And so there's this nice blending of those two sounds in something like a Taylor T5Z. And what I'll show you, I'll just pick up mine. I can't get it working through the audio interface. For some reason, that doesn't happen for me. But I can show you the components of it, talk a little bit about it, and then put on a video from Taylor that actually has a really good guitarist on it, better than anybody in this room, I suspect, but who's going to demonstrate the different sounds you can get out of this guitar. So, all right, let's start here. So this is a Taylor T5Z custom. It's today I paid about $2,800 for it. They sell for about $38 or so today. So it's a wonderfully designed guitar, easy to play, very soft. I think I have 10s on here. I think it comes at 11 nickel strings. Nickels work better with the the electric pickups. And I like this. I like a really soft, bendable string for the things that I play. Okay, so if you look at it, you only see one pickup. It's got that bridge pickup here. It is a humbucker, and the humbucker was designed, of course, to eliminate the hum, right? So it's the way they coil this. They coil the the little magnet inside to get that to quiet down a bit. on the back side, there's a panel. You'll see a little 9-volt hatch there because this does have a pickup, a body pickup, audio in the body. It sits right here, right in the middle of the of the top after the bridge, and that's so you can get some of the acoustic sound out of it. And I keep looking up because my screen's up here where I'm looking at you guys. Okay, so what they've done is they give you a volume knob, they give you a two-tone knobs, bass and treble, and these are actually pretty effective in scooping out the middle or getting the tones that you'd like to hear. And then they have this 5-position selector switch on top, right over this way. And so I wish I could demonstrate it in terms of tapping. Position 1 is an acoustic guitar position. And so it blends the pickups with that acoustic pickup sitting inside the body. And as you'll see on the demonstration, it is amazingly good for an acoustic guitar. It's not the same as a full body acoustic, but you know, Kurt, if you've ever played it that way, it actually fills in nicely. And then you can go, you know, all the way down to full electric, right? You can go right to the bridge pickup and put some distortion behind it, and play it as an electric. And so you only get the full body tone in one position. The rest of it is either bridge, neck, or combination of those pickups. So it's very, very versatile. And so if you had to take one guitar to a gig where you wanted to play acoustic and electric, this would be one of those, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of play this video for you. But first of all, any questions about the guitar itself? No? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we do have a question.
Yeah. When you're on that acoustic pickup, is it a little more trebly from where it's at? But it wouldn't be because it's not where.
Well, no, it's getting body. It's
because
really,
it's not where the strings
much of the body
are
resonance.
ending on the
right,
bridge.
So they're turning
right.
on the body resonance, so you can hear the body of the guitar, and now it's really interesting because you do get clearly differentiated sounds. You know, whether you're like on a bridge, you know, right? You know, a single coil bridge, right? That's a humbucker still, but you get that, you know, that more electric guitar, original electric guitar sound out of it. And so the other thing, and I will point this out again because I'm not sure everybody has heard this before, but here's a Fender thin pick, right? A tortoiseshell kind of pick. I like these Dunlop flow picks. There's a medium and there's a right here, and then there's a light gauge here, and then there's a little jazz pick, a tiny little thing. I have a habit of tapping the guitar with my pick if I'm picking on this guitar, because you know, and I can hear it with longer picks. So I like the short ones that just bite the string. But that is one of the simplest ways of changing the tone on your guitar, is with the pick. And if you don't have a variety of picks, not so, you know, so Fender makes their standard, you know, thin, medium, heavy picks, which all have a different sound. But the sound that the Dunlop flows make for thin, medium, and heavy are completely different from the Fenders. These are a lot softer sounding picks, you know, and then depending upon whether you're using the Dunlop black or white or red, you know, jazz. This is a jazz pick. You get a different tone, so you think a pick's a pick, even if it feels about the same flexibility or thickness. No, the material makes a difference, and the thickness does make a difference in terms of the tone. So I would encourage you to experiment. Go get yourself a variety pack of Dunlops, for example, and play with them. I mean, I have. I won't tip it up too much, but this is my pick case, and each one of them has something in it, because they all have different tones. And I don't play all of them. You know, I have my favorites, right? I tend to like the Fenders for acoustic, the old style acoustic, you know, string slapping sounds, for example. But anyway, that's my pick spiel. That's my, you know, it's the cheapest way you can get to changing tones without having to swap out pickups or buy multiple guitars, Kurt. All right, let me go ahead and share this one screen with you. We're going to go right for this guy. Share sound. Okay. All right, so this is a tailor-made video. Can you all hear that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sitting here with Sam Yoon, and we are going to take him through the T5Z. Sam is a producer, a touring guitar player, plays both acoustic and electric, so you're going to find this guitar to be awesome for your needs. Sam has never played a T5, so I'm super excited to kind of go through this with you, because once you go through the experience of a T5, you're going to trip out on how incredibly versatile and cool the instrument is, right? So the name, the T5, the T stands for thin line, as you can see as you're holding it. It's a very thin-bodied guitar, and it's fully hollow. And because it's hollow, it's really light, so it's comfortable to play for long periods of time. The 5 is for this 5-way pickup selector switch we have up here. This is going to switch between 3 onboard pickups, okay? This pickup back here, you see this one. This is a true humbucker. There's also a humbucker under the neck. And there's a body sensor on the top of the guitar. And the body sensor is part of our original expression system we used to amplify our acoustic guitars and give that full frequency response. So it's really cool. You get this great acoustic sound. It's truly a hybrid guitar, meaning it goes from straight acoustic sounds to full-on electric guitar sounds, and it does it pretty much seamlessly, and you're going to get to experiment with that today, which should be a lot of fun. A couple of side notes: it's got a shorter scale length neck, so it's 24 7/8, got a little bit more of a Les Paul type feel, a little bit more rounded fretboard, radius fretboard at a 12 instead of a 15 that we have on our normal acoustics. And it comes from the factory with 11-gauge nickel string, so it, it uses an electric guitar string, even though it has an acoustic sound, because the nickel tends to play way better with the magnetic pickups.
Oh, okay.
On the face of the guitar, we have 3 elegant controls. It's just volume, bass, and treble. And you can see there's a little light on. That's because there's a 9-volt battery in the back that's powering a high-definition preamp.
Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit through this descriptive session and let you hear some of the tones. So let's try that real time.
And the high definition preamp gives us the level on your volume, flat EQ. So maybe just play a little bit and see what you think, and then we'll go from there.
Sweet.
This is the acoustic. This is where your body sensor comes in.
Pretty authentic acoustic,
Wow,
right?
Super, yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That sounds amazing.
So now, we talk a lot about tone woods at Taylor, and different tone woods give different sounds. So with the EQs here, if you experiment by maybe if you raise the lows a little bit, raise the highs a little bit, you may notice a little more low end, a little more high end, but that also will scoop out the mid-range, which we typically would say Indian Rosewood kind of has that scoop sound, a little bit more bottom, a little more top. Check that out, and you'll notice a difference when you play it.
Wow. That's so full.
Yeah, and that's great if you're doing a singer-songwriter thing, or someone you're backing up a vocalist, and it's just you on a T5, you can actually really fill that space. What a lot of guys will do is they'll take the lows and the highs and bring them both down a little bit, but that's going to take a little volume away, so you can add a little bit of volume to supplement that. Now you're back at the same volume, but now what you've done is you've taken the highs down, the lows down, which has kind of accentuated the mid-range. So if you play a little bit of a lead on there, you'll notice the acoustic's going to cut a little bit more.
Crystal clear.
Yeah, it just punches right through.
So that's still on the acoustic, but the tones are different with the way they've designed the little tone control systems. All right, let's keep going.
So once you set everything back to flat, and what you'll notice, and you go back 1, so now you're in position 2. 2 is going to be the neck pickup as a humbucker exclusively, and now we'll go through an electric guitar amp, and we try the distortion there. And effectively now what you have is kind of almost like a Les Paul in the neck position. You have a little more warmth in there, but there's none of that high definition body sensor. Yeah, so you'll get just more of an electric guitar sound. Pickup selections that you'll do, all of the volume, bass, and treble are all still active. And so you're going, I'm not getting quite. And it's really great during sound check. I've used these guitars. a full humbucker. This is, you know, think of any guitar with a humbucker in the bridge position. It's going to be your heaviest gain output and great for distortion. This is where if you're going to rock out a little bit, it'd be kind of cool there. Why don't we start clean, and then I'll add some distortion for you. You can play around with that and see what it sounds like.
Okay, let's keep going.
More on the distortion pedal. And now you're back in acoustic all the way. That's right. Now you're in acoustic guitar again. It's just amazing when you can do it that quickly. All right, let's take a look at position 4.
Okay, I'm gonna end the video. I think you've seen enough of a sample here. All right, let's go ahead and stop that. Okay. So that's so that was not an ad for a Taylor T5Z, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are kind of looking at your budget right now. It's just a beautiful guitar for its versatility and the sound that it produces. So, any questions about any of that? Or any comments?
I just love the versatility of that.
Yeah, I want one again now.
Yeah, it's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually just to throw a little tidbit out there. You know, I was out. This is a number of years ago now, probably 8 or 9 years ago. I was out at the Taylor factory and did a tour, and they were making T5s, and it was fun. It was fun to see them, put them together, and see 24 bodies waiting for assembly, and it was really quite an operation. It was
I bet it was for a builder like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bet it was. So yeah, that's just Kurt, you've got one of those. Dan, I saw your eyes light up a little bit there.
I was impressed, and it's a pretty looking guitar.
Oh, it's
Very
beautiful.
nice
Yeah. I mean, I don't leave my guitars out too often in the humidity's, out of whack, but sits in this case. But yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's a showpiece, really. So okay, that is my spiel, and I'm sticking with it.
Well done, Michael. Unfortunately, we find these issues with Zoom that doesn't enable us to do certain things.
Well, if Zoom would enable me to play like he did, if there's an add-in, if there's a little app you can add into Zoom for that, I'd love it. Well, I'll get an AI me to do the guitar demonstrations, because I'm primarily an acoustic strummer, kind of a rhythm guy and I throw a little bit of flavor in it once in a while. But yeah, so
yeah,
I'm more of a singer-songwriter type.
Excellent guitar. So the Archtops and the semi-hollows all came from jazz, the big bands. And what we have to attribute is the fact that they started what we have now from back in the 30s. And I'm going to get a little more elaborate on that when I start talking about some of the amplifiers that I'm going to show. But John has a nice little presentation for us to endeavor through. So off to you, Mr. DeMarco.
All right, let me get my slide deck up here. Hopefully you can all see this.
Yep.
So, and I guess maybe I should have started with hollow body, but when I put this together, it seemed like it flowed better if I went from hollow body to archtop guitars. So, time marches on, and that, that T5, that's really shows you just how far we've progressed in the last almost 100 years of electric guitars. And of course, jazz guitarists played mostly rhythm back in the day, and they started to want to solo. Well, it was hard to do that over a jazz band, over a big band. And so they started experimenting with what they could do to change that. Everything from putting a microphone inside the body to, we talked about last month about different kinds of pickups that were developed, etc. And, when it really comes down to it, you have two different kind of distinct kinds of guitars besides solid body guitars. You have semi-hollow and you have hollow body. And I'm going to start with semi-hollow because it's probably the most prevalent that you see. And it's interesting because if you look at this photo, you can see that it's really built like a acoustic guitar, right? It's got bent wood sides, and then it's got the kerfing around the edges, and right down the middle it's got a great big old 2x4. Now it's not made out of 2x4 material, obviously, and what they found was that the hollow bodies at very high volumes, they did a lot of squealing and feedback, and so this was a way around that. To build in a little extra stiffness. And, this is probably, again, the most ubiquitous when it comes to semi-hollow that you'll see. I'll show you a couple other examples of how they accomplish this. But, some really famous semi-hollow guitars, obviously the Gibson and the Epiphone ES-335, that's probably the most, the one that we all think of when we think about this. Lucille was a Gibson ES-335. Interestingly enough, it didn't have any F-holes in it. And when B.B. King, got famous, he got to start designing his own Lucilles, and he actually went through several different Lucilles in his career. Another semi-hollow that maybe you recognize because the Beatles used them, and a lot of other bands, especially from the British invasion, is Rickenbacker. And it's the same kind of a thing. There's a block of wood here. Now, they also made hollow bodies that looked very similar to this, but in this case, this is got that block of wood in the middle there. When we talk about Fender, probably their most famous is the Telecaster thin line on the far right there. And it's essentially made like what you see in that left-hand picture, where this has been routed out. Some chambers have been routed out from a solid piece of wood, but you've still got this big, beefy piece of wood coming down the middle here. The Starcaster, which probably most of us have never seen or played, at least I haven't, the same kind of a thing, only other than having a flat top, it's actually got an arch to the top. And by the way, a lot of these archtop electrics, they're sometimes solid, solid plates. A lot of times they're actually, they're not a plywood, but they're a laminate. And then they're pressed into that arch with a lot of steam and heat and a mold. But then there's also, and we'll get to it in a minute, archtops that are actually carved. But, another way of creating that semi-hollow thing. PRS does an interesting thing with their semi-hollows and hollow bodies, and that is, again, if you look over on the left here, you can see that they've hollowed out this solid piece of wood, and then they do what they call the clamshell, and you can see it over here on the right, the bottom portion of it. And the top goes on, and they actually glue a top and a back on. And they're arched on the outside, but they're not necessarily arched on the inside. And then you'll notice that there's, where the pickups go, there's a couple of big blocks of wood. And so it's not got that 2x4 down the middle, but it's got some real stiffness, not only to the soundboard, but it's also got the stiffness because of those pieces of wood joining together as well. So kind of a unique way of doing it. When we talk about hollow bodies, now we're getting back to the original guitars that were essentially acoustic guitars. And you can see over on the far left there, you're looking on the inside from the back. Again, a kerf lining and bent wood, a soundboard with not much bracing. And that's very common with archtops, that really there's just two braces, and they're quite often an X. In this case, it's more of a V, but you can see that not much bracing there because the top is thicker than you would think. Some really famous hollow bodies. So you see that Gretsch next there. That was a Chet Atkins kind of thing, and the one I'm showing you there is probably about a $50,000 guitar on the used market now. By the way, Brian Setzer played one very similar to this, but it was a white one. And then the Gibson ES-330, and you'll remember that John Lennon and George Harrison played those. They also played some Epiphones back in the day. And then the Gibson ES-175, Joe Pass, Pat Metheny, those, again, a very ubiquitous back in the day guitar. Don't find a lot of them now used, although they've got reissues, of course. But when you talk about the hollow bodies, really the first one with a pickup was the one you see right here, right off the writing here next to where it says hollow body. That's a ES-150, and it was probably the first truly electrified hollow body. Charlie Christian played one of those. And then as you look over on the right-hand side here, that next guitar, the one in the middle on the top, is an Epiphone Zephyr from 1948. And then the Gibson ES-175, 1949. And then this Gibson on the bottom is what they really consider the first thin line hollow body. So only about 1.5 inches thick. And so not a full body acoustic anymore.
If you've ever heard of a trapeze bridge, gentlemen.
That's a good point. Yep. And again, all built similar to an archtop guitar, which we're about to talk about. But yeah, that tailpiece is unique with these trapeze, and that became actually very much a part of the design of the guitars, as much as the headstocks were by a lot of these manufacturers. So you'll see all different kinds of those trapeze there. So let's talk about archtops and what makes them unique. They literally, as Michael had mentioned, they said, hey, a violin sure is pretty and it sure sounds pretty. What if we build a guitar that's similar to that in construction? And so if you look on the far left here, that's a photo I took over at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's showing you the back plate along with the ribs on the sides there, solid pieces of wood, and then a carved front. And then what I want you to pay attention to is the wedge here, and that's how most archtops, if not all archtops, start. It's sort of a V-shaped wedge of material that then you start using scrapers and planes to carve the top and the back. And again, you can see this one with the back on it. But let me just go to the next slide here, and you can see the interior of an archtop and the exterior of the sound plates. And so If you look in the very middle here, where you can see the little wooden plane and the glasses sitting on there, what they're doing is they're carving out the inside of this plate. So it's quite a bit thicker than the average acoustic guitar that we're used to. And what those dots are, what a lot of makers do is they have a drill and a pattern that they use, and they drill how deep they want the carve to go. And then they start stripping the wood out using planes and scrapers until these indentations disappear. The same thing on the exterior on the far right there. You can see where they're using a wooden plane and then an instrument to determine the arch of it, where they're planing away material. And what winds up happening is very near the edge, but not the edge, is where the thinnest part of the plates are. And that's where you get all the vibrations for that soundboard, is from the edges. And so I've never made an Archtop, but I have to tell you, it fascinates me how they build it. And then you can see in the upper left-hand corner here where they've put the X braces in. But it's interesting because as opposed to a flat top guitar that has very little arch, if any, they have to build the braces to encompass that deep dish that's been created in the soundboard. And so Archtops, again, they're a work of art besides being a musical instrument, in themselves. And some very famous ones, Archtops that you'll see around. Hofner had a lot of them back in the day, and you can buy a used one from the 50s, around $500. But when you start talking the masters of Archtop guitars, John D'Angelico and Jimmy Acquisto, and Bob Benedetto, now you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. The two gentlemen in the middle here are no longer with us, but they're the ones who really, I would say, supplied the jazz masters of the 40s and 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then Bob Benedetto really created a real, name for himself. Again, improving on some of the techniques from these two gentlemen. Jimmy actually was a gopher for John back in the day, and you can tell how much I've read about this. I have dozens of books about guitar building and guitar makers, and it's quite the story in New York. All of the molds and all of the specifications that John created, Jimmy inherited, and now that information is all available in museums. That's just how big a part of the music industry these gentlemen were. Bob is still around, but he sold his brand. I don't know, I want to say to Fender or somebody. But he still makes handmade guitars, but he charges $50, $60, $70,000 a piece for them, whereas the ones that are mass produced, a few $1,000s. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is what, you saw a lot of guitars that had embedded pickups, but the original pickups for Archtops were what they called floating pickups. And essentially they hung off of the scratch guard. So that's why it's called the floating. The Benedetto one that you see on the left, is similar to the ones that you see on the right there. They're connected to that pick guard, and then they just kind of float above the soundboard. They're not really connected to the soundboard. Another way of doing that is this one in the lower left. Again, a floating pickup, but it's actually attached to the neck, because the necks on jazz guitars tend to stand a little bit more proud of the body than a normal acoustic. So that's what I have for you on the history and types of Archtops, jazz guitars in general. And I'll say that's the end of my piece.
What I thought was interesting is how they kind of incorporate the look of the guitar or putting the pickup on incorporates into the look of the guitar.
Yeah, yeah,
And
very
it
much.
seems almost hidden, like it's always been there. It was always a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a discretion thing, in some ways too. They look kind of discreet.
Yeah, very definitely a work of art. Just the way they've been designed and built. I think you saw on one of the slides, different kinds of cutaways, Florentine, and really, to my mind, they've really taken the and put a lot of not only craft but art into it. And I think you can say that about any kind of guitar, really. I mean, but the reality is, jazz musicians are a certain kind of breed of guitar player, I have to say. And, the
For sure.
playability and the sound that they want is very, very specific. You can maybe say that about every musician, but yeah.
Well, they had to be amplified. And that was the tough part. I mean, we knew how to build guitars, but amplifiers were just coming into their own back then because of those guitars. And it was to be able to get above all the horns and all the drums. Big bands, if y'all have ever seen a big band or were ever into big bands, they were loud, incredibly loud. I mean, I would rate them with a good metal band. That's how loud some of them can be. So I have some shares here. I did some, actually, I learned a few things when I was doing this research also. But let me bring this up. I have a slide deck that I Gemini was happy to help me with. And here we go. I think I got it up. Whoop. Let me do some situating. There we go. All right, and this is kind of like a history of jazz and blues amplification. So we'll see what we can come up with. So the jazz ideal was prioritize a high, clean headroom transparency and a warm mid-range. The amp acts as a high fidelity window for the guitar's natural wood tones. And in blues, it focuses on like a touch sensitivity. If you're a blues player like I am, you want to be able to have that expression of the touch that you're putting to the string to try to express the emotion you're trying to put out with your soloing or even with chordings. The amp is the instrument itself, is an instrument in itself, is that it provides some good harmonic grit and dynamic compression. In other words, you want it to be able to be stable, but you still want it to be a little bit on the edge, but have the fidelity that you really want it to have. And that's where it comes to today's amplifiers, where you have the vintage characters. Hang on, I gotta move something here. With extreme portability. That was the other thing, making sure that they're easy to get around. Bluesmen back in the day used to travel light. And digital modeling and boutique analog engineering has led the way for getting that character and fidelity that we want. So I think it went ahead on me here. All right, so I got to show you a slide of this. For some reason, when the slide or a picture of this, I've got one. When the slide developed itself, it didn't show the picture. And so fortunately I have one, and why I can't get it, I don't know. Here we go. There it is. Y'all see that? Y'all see that amp?
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. No, we see your Jazz Pioneer,
Okay.
but you haven't played the video
All right.
yet.
Let me just reshare again. Unfortunately, I don't know why the deck just didn't work it out. Here we go. Okay, and there we are. And I'm going to have to put on my glasses so I can read. So this is the Gibson EH-150 that went with the Gibson ES, or the ES-150. Did I say that right? And this is actually built for the laptop steels back in the days of big band with Hawaiian sound. The Hawaiian laptop was just, everybody wanted to hear the Hawaiian sound, and these were the amplifiers that helped it out. And so this is from like 1936, I think it is. And the amplifier is, in itself, is famous for its maple body, round top, and, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. The laptop steel was. The amplifier is famous as a guitar, is it recognized as one of the first amp designs to offer tone manipulation rather than just simple volume. And it actually featured a 12-inch speaker and a tube driven using the, if y'all are into tube amps, the 6L6 tubes. A high gain microphone could also be plugged into it. And a guitarist eventually discovered provided incredibly rich overdrive. So using the microphone input. I have a picture of the backside of this thing. Let me unshare this one. Come on. I got so many pictures here. Where'd they all go? Come on. There it is. This is what the backside of this thing looked like. Incredible, isn't it? There's that 6L6. They're so recognizable. I'm not sure what the speaker is, but this is back. Gibson was making amplifiers. I think they stopped making amplifiers around 1985, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Okay, so the next one, I got to get back to my slide deck here. This is all unrehearsed, folks. Sorry. All right. So anyway, again, that EH-150 was used by Charlie Kristen, who really was phenomenal in helping to develop the electric guitar and the electric amp. Okay. So this is the the holy grail, so they say, of the blues band, the tweed. If anybody knows about the Bassman tweeds, I've actually tried some of these out, and back in when I was first getting into playing a lot more often in my teens, and there was a local store that actually had one, and they were kind of bassy, very low. You couldn't get much highs out of them. They were kind of, what would I say, muddy. Maybe that's where Muddy Waters came from when he was using them for his guitars. So, and they were not cheap. That was the other thing. Because of Fender's name on them, they were pretty expensive. This one here, everybody recognizes the Fender Twin Reverb. Lots of clean headroom on these. There was another offering they had with the concert amps. Back in the blues day, or when they first started using them with the Archtops, they were using the Fender Princetons. And They were like a tweed. They went up to about 30 watts. They were very clean, beautiful tones. Again, sparkling amps, that sparkling clean tone that blues players likes too. And now the getting into the jazz thing, and I'm going to have to bring up another picture here that shows a better line. The Roland JC120, I always wanted one of these. They were amazing. Their chorusing section was, you could actually almost get to a univibe sound. Guys like Pat Metheny. I know I've seen Steve Howe use one. Who else? Al Di Meola also had used some. Let me see if I can bring up the better picture of this thing. These were really an amazing amplifier. Boy, were they freaking powerful. It was kind of like similar to the Fender Twins. It wasn't quite as loud as the Super Reverb, but it was there. And here's that chorusing section, which was just amazing. And you could get this amplifier to distort, but when it was clean, it had such a beautiful headroom to it, so much headroom, such beautiful tones came out of this amplifier. That's why it was chosen by so many that were into getting higher up into the jazz realms of Al Di Meola, Metheny, and God, my memory's terrible. He was with Mahavishnu Orchestra. Anybody? Who was a guitar player for Mahavishnu Orchestra? Guys? Anyone?
who was that? McLaughlin?
Yes, John McLaughlin. Thank you. I don't know why I can't never remember him. So, I mean, this was an excellent amp. And it was, actually, I understood it was a really good keyboard amp, too. So, it was a multi-purpose, and these were not bad in their offerings. Roland always had some pretty decent equipment. Of course, their Boss foot pedals, right? And now they're, I don't know if is Roland still around? I mean, besides the synthesizer section, I don't know what Roland's been doing. I haven't seen him. I've seen the Boss foot effects stomp pedals called Waz now. Is that it? Something like
Not
that?
following. Yeah, not following.
Seen a different name on them. But anyway, I digress. All right, so back to my slide deck. Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm horrible at presentations like this, fellas. That's why I was never a businessman. You'd never see me in the boardroom. Now, this little amplifier right here, the Polytone, I had always wanted to get one of these also. I tried them out several times. Every time I ended up going to the store, they always had the Mini Brute 3. And it only had like 4 knobs to it, and I never liked it. Believe it or not, this little amplifier with a 12-inch speaker is 100 watts. And it's a 100-watt transistor, solid state, and it's 100 watts. They're loud. But the only problem is because they're so small, you kind of lose any of it if you're on a stage with a band. So you got to be right on top of it. Let me see. I got a better shot of this one too, so you can see the one that I particularly liked, the model I liked, which was the Brute one. Let me stop sharing. I keep losing all my buttons. And it had what it, this thing, and this was the 2. They always had the 3. I never tried the number 1. I never seen the Mini Brute 1. Supposedly they went all the way up to 5. You can still find these around, and they really, you can pick them up for about $300. They're all over eBay. When I was looking earlier this week, putting this part together, I mean, I couldn't believe how many of them I could find. It had these really great controls to them, and this boost cut was really awesome to play with. And you had a contour for the mid-range, this sonic surge circuitry, whatever that was. I'm sure it's kind of just a tricky word for a mid-range pass filtering. It was awesome. I mean, this thing would get really, really loud. But again, I've seen guys try to use them in a band, and if they're on one side of the stage and they go to the other side of the stage, you can't hear it, even though it's 100 watts. And that's even putting it up on a chair or on a stand. So, and the reverb was so. All right. So back to my little slide deck. Y'all bored yet? Y'all looking like you're going to get to sleep. I'm going to have to start offering coffee.
We're good. We're good. Keep going.
All right. And here's the big one, man. I love this amp. I had a friend of mine that used to have one, and every once in a while I'd even borrow it. We'd swap amps. And this is the Super Reverb. And this thing, if you put this on top of another 4x12 cabinet, you had something. It really was great to flexibility-wise, versatility-wise, great tones. You could get them, I've seen them with 412s. Whether that was one that was maybe hot rodded, but I've seen them with 412s. And if you put JBL speakers in this, oh my God, they were so clean, and it was such a great amp. It was a tube amp. It did have, it does have like a distortion side, and then of course just a plain clean side, but you do have channel switching with it. So this amplifier has been on many, many recordings for a lot of artists that I know we've all listened to. And then there's these were kind of neat little amps that I just kind of thought had to be in it. These were really just used for recording for the most part. This little Henriksen, they don't make them anymore because the owner died. And so the family, and like, I think it was in 2023. And so they don't make them anymore. And it was like the Cube, if anybody's seen the rolling Cube, except that it was put out 120 watts. That's a lot of wattage for a little tiny 9-inch speaker and the way it's shaped. I wish I had a better picture of this DV Mark. DV Mark is an Italian company, and I have a set of DV Mark speakers. They're 212s, but the enclosure only weighs around 26 pounds. I mean, they're neodynamic speakers. This company is very innovative, and I was going to get another picture of this and was interrupted. And it's just like this little the Bud right here. It's just a little cube-looking amplifier that you can use in the studio. Direct, you can do direct a DI with it with a microphone in the front at the speaker. They're great. acoustic image was something that I started to do some research on. I'm sorry I don't have a whole lot of information on it. It was supposed to have a strictly flat response to it. For anybody that wanted that clean, flat, the way they wanted their guitar to sound, the way the guitar sounds unplugged for like a semi-hollow or a hollow body, or for the hollow body, this was what you would get. All right, so that about does it for that part. There were a couple of others I wanted to elaborate on, and let me get those up here. Sorry for not having good camera presence. And what I'm going to feature here are the amplifiers that like B.B. King used. I was always so impressed with B.B. King's rig. Now, B.B. King never used any foot switches whatsoever. And he was into pretty much the simplest thing he could have for a rig. But he just wanted to get his tones. Lab Series was put out by Gibson, and he was using these L5s, and they were kind of similar to using a Fender Twin. Same pretty much basic controls. The presence was a lot better on these amps. They were 2x12s or 4x12s. They were made or designed by Ben Moog. I think it's Ben. I think that's his first name. Is that Moog's first name? Is Ben, right? The guy that invented the Moog synthesizer.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. And a lot of us, they, had known it as like a sleeper amp. And we've seen them. I've seen them in stores. And I never gave them a second look because it wasn't a Marshall. It wasn't a Fender. What do I need it for? Right? Well, these were, B.B. King's choice. After he was using some Gibsons. He did use Fenders. But he found the Lab Series to be a much better amplifier to work with. It gave him the sound that he really liked. It had a unique feature, frequency control, with a deep notch filter to scoop certain mids that he liked. It had a parametric mid-range in here. There was a level where you could, if you know what a parametric mid-range knob looks like, it's where you can change the frequency besides just the intensity of the tones of the filter. And it had a built-in compressor. They're not too hard to find here. You could pick up a Labs series for about $500 now, $400 or $500 in decent shape. But there was the one that I really used to be impressed with was, and I always wanted one of these also. I would, where some people were guitar collectors, I liked amplifiers. And it's coming up here. 1 second. Hey, I'm getting pretty good at this. Oh, let me show you that Lab Series, another picture of that Lab Series. This is what they looked like. They were pretty neat. They had a bigger brother that had a 412 in it. Let's see, one more here. I'm almost done, I swear. Okay. Let me show you this first. All right. So this is the B.B. King used to use for a preamp. This is the Gibson LP1 preamp that went with, and these were only like a 30-watt preamp. And it all lit up really pretty. I'm going to show you that in a minute. I think this is what mostly gave B.B. King that great sound that he had, that throaty, upper mid-range, but still had some bottom to it. Hang on, I'll show you the speaker. Well, I ain't going to show the speaker. The speaker's immaterial. I'll show you the full rig instead. Oh, I didn't have a picture of the full rig. That's right. I went away from that. But anyway, this is what it looked like when it was all pretty and lit up. The speakers had 412s, the speaker box. I do have a picture of the box. Let me get it up. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one of the speaker boxes with the grill off. And that's the way B.B. King used to have his, is he had his with the grill off. So it had right in here 2 10-inch horns, treble horns, and then 4 10s. And it had those horns were so cool, the sound that they made. The mid-range and the high end, it had that upper mid-range, lower high frequencies that I used to just enjoy from B.B. King. And that was the B.B. King sound. So it was quite a neat little rig. And the fact that he had never used any pedals at all. He may have had some channel switching boxes in front of him, but that was about it. The overtones were just amazing. The preamp, there is an amplifier in the bottom of this speaker cabinet also, and I should have got a rear view. It's a 200-watt speaker, or 200-watt amplifier. That other part is just the 30-watt preamp, and the combination is just an amazing sound. It was really that with a hollow body. I think these things were designed for a hollow body, I swear to God. And it had the tubes on the top and a solid state, the solid state 200-watt amp on the bottom. And I think that brings me to the end of my little dissertation. Any questions? Comments? See that? Look, I put DJ to sleep.
Can I borrow you? I'm having trouble sleeping, Dan.
How can you sleep with my harsh voice? I don't know.
You're very, very soothing. Trust me.
No way. Yeah, maybe that's why I had the radio voice. I always said.
Yeah, you have a gift. You have a gift, buddy.
Anyhow, fellas.
So I was going to ask about the Fender Bassman, because wasn't that originally supposed to be for bass guitar?
It was, but even Jimi Hendrix used them.
Yeah.
He used the big ones with the head and the speakers. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just because I think a bass amp has more power than guitar amps do.
Yeah. Well, and a bigger speaker too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could get 15s. Yeah, you would get 15s. I had a friend of mine that had an 18. He had one 18 and two 15s. And he used an Ampeg SVT. And if you know those Ampeg SVTs, they were had some power, man. So he would get himself out there. He ended up finally buying one of those Legacies, Carbon Legacy, which I never got a chance to hear him play. He got it after I had left Massachusetts. It was my old bass player. So, you know what? Let me end the recording here, and we can discuss afterwards, fellas. So, Thank you very much, everyone, for joining in our little spiel today. Somewhere I gotta find my my ending here. It's here somewhere. I lost it. There it is. Okay. And again, John and Michael, thank you so much for your time, and thank you all that have been in attendance today. We thank you for being along. What we have coming up, John, you have a workbench plan for August, right?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be continuing on with the build of a couple of lap steels, and a simple one and a little bit more difficult one. And then, and maybe a little soldering lesson and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's coming up in August.
Awesome. We'll have returning with hopefully another guitar shop if we can come up with something to talk about. We're running out of subjects.
Let's hear from the crew. What would you like to hear?
Yeah,
Let's talk about C.
We could just cover. I guess we could actually start covering brands. I don't know.
Kurt, what do you think?
I just started playing with delay pedals.
We already did one though.
Yeah, that's where it got me into it, where I started messing with a pedal, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, you started getting into them.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We'll talk about that after the recording.
Okay.
After
You
I
want to look
stop
at
recording.
maybe a deep dive on chorus?
We did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chorus.
Well, I guess we did that. Maybe I don't remember. I don't remember
Now
what I had for
we've done.
breakfast.
I was thinking about. I was going to look back on some older guitar shops and see what maybe I can pull from something we may have missed or not done. But we'll have something, I'm sure. Also, the iJam's at the 1st of August, the first Thursday. And let's see what else we have. Next week coming up is, or not next week, week after, we have the office hours. So please do share that with your friends and neighbors and have them come along, and we can all have a good time with me and Paul. Hopefully Paul will be on this one. And then This is Bluegrass will be back on the last Saturday of the month. So I'm putting the close sign in the window. The guitar shop is closed until we meet again. Happy trails to you until we meet. No.
Again.
That was always our ending song. With 4-part harmony and tears in our eyes. On behalf of the Guitar Prevents, the Guitar Shop staff, we thank all of you for joining. Guitar Prevents is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma. Through our unique 10-week structured guitar instruction program, putting the healing power of music in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. Namaste, my friends, and be well.